Hey everybody, it's me, Asinellus, and welcome back to another video. Welcome back to Reddit. Welcome to r/ProRevenge. Now this is the place where we'll get to see sweet, sweet revenge in action, and guys, trust me when I say you'll love it. So subscribe to the channel, buckle up, because we're going on quite the revenge ride, which I hope you'll all enjoy. Cheat on me, you'll get deported, arrested, and never see your child again. My ex-boyfriend and I are both native citizens in the same country in North America. We got together when I was still in post-secondary working towards my degree, and he was taking some time before he started post-secondary to work and save up money. Our relationship was basically perfect from my perspective. We had similar goals and expectations, we both seemed mature and able to work through any problems we had, and we both were happy to be together and enjoyed each other's personalities. We were together for 3 years prior to this incident. Our relationship hit a bit of a rough patch when he told me he wanted to study for his degree at a university in Europe. I, of course, was a little bit upset, because it meant that we would be apart for 4 years. My job field, medical, would require me to retake schooling if I was to go with him, but he was super excited about it, and we determined that we loved each other, and no amount of distance could change that. With time, I graduated and got my dream job, and I could now afford to rent our shared apartment with just my income. So I didn't have to move when he was no longer there to pay his half. He was having some problems with his student visa for my country, but it was determined that he could get a temporary visa for the first semester while he waited for the other one to be approved. So with that, he left. I remember bawling my eyes out at the airport when I hugged and kissed him goodbye, and parked outside the airport to watch his plane take off. We talked on the phone almost every night. As unlucky as it was, about 5 weeks after he left, I found out I was pregnant. Horrible timing, I know. When I told him I was pregnant, he immediately accused me of cheating on him while he was gone. I thought it was a bit odd, since he had never mentioned such a thing, and it seemed really out of the blue. That obviously led to a big fight, and I felt offended and disgusted that he could even consider it a possibility. When he came home for Christmas, he was super happy and loved up with me, saying he was excited. He even proposed to me on the car ride home from his parents' house on Christmas Eve. I was so happy and overjoyed, but it felt like everything would work out okay. When he went back to school, it was again stressful to go through the pregnancy without him, but both his parents and mine were incredibly supportive. They helped me get everything I needed for the baby, and even threw me a surprise baby shower. When I gave birth, my ex watched it over Skype from his mum. When he finished his exams, he came home to be with us. He immediately started talking negative about our daughter, saying things like, "Why is her hair that color? My hair is brown, and doesn't she have your friend's eyes?" And he again accused me of cheating. So I reluctantly agreed to perform a paternity test to calm his suspicions. Wow. Could you believe it? She was his. He agreed to pay informal child support, sending me money to pay for the baby without a lawful order to do so while he was overseas. Now for the fun part. His student visa had still not been approved, so he had to reapply for another temporary semester visa for the next semester. Since he did not have a permanent residence in the country, as he was staying in student accommodations, and he didn't trust the university to not go through official-looking mail, he redirected all his mail to me, which I would forward to the university in his care packages. When he came to visit us, he had applied for a new passport, as his was going to expire in 6 months. I was tasked with picking it up at the office and sending it forward. However, around midterm exam season, I decided our daughter and I would travel to deliver the care package in person and visit. I had to get her an infant passport and book for tickets, but a couple of months later we were getting on a plane. Side note, traveling with a baby sucks, and I'm sorry to everyone else on the plane. We got into the country, I settled in our hotel, but I was too eager to see him. I taxied to his university, only about 45 minutes from the airport, and went to his dorm room on campus. I knocked on the door holding our daughter. A woman answered the door. At first, I assumed it was his roommate or something, but I don't remember him mentioning he had one. Denial is a powerful thing, I guess. I asked her where he was, and she said he was inside and called out to him. I heard her, "Who is it, babe?" as he came to the door, and when he saw me, he froze. He went pale, and his eyes widened. The woman asked him, "Honey, who is this?" And I just turned and walked away. He called out after me, and eventually caught up with me. He basically told me that he'd been so lonely without me and he couldn't help it, and that he loved me and not her, to which she started yelling at him, calling him a pig and stuff. My baby started crying because I was crying, and so I just left without saying anything. I stayed in the hotel for another day while he continuously called me on my cell phone. I booked last-minute tickets home and left early and ignored every time he called me. I gave myself a week to grieve, and then I put my big girl pants on. I immediately hired a lawyer and asked him what I could do to legally separate my life from him. In my country, we were considered common law married. My lawyer advised me to begin the legal separation process and apply for a hearing about custody and child support. I sent him a thick manila envelope with separation papers and a notice for hearing about custody in his next package. We talked on the phone on speaker with my lawyer, and he eventually agreed to sign. He sent me a copy. The hearing was scheduled while school was in session, so no surprise, he didn't show up. I won full custody, and he was given an order to pay child support appropriate for his income. He was paying for his college with a grant mostly, so he had to pay based on the grant. Now, this is some revenge, but it went a little further. Remember when I went to see him? I was bringing a care package. That package contained his new passport. His passport expired, and he was still in Europe, so he couldn't travel back to our home country legally. He yelled at me on the phone to send him the passport, but I got an idea. He hadn't been paying the child support, probably because he couldn't afford it with tuition and wasn't working, so he had a warrant for his arrest in my home country because of it. Contempt of order or something. And he had never been approved for a student visa, only the temporary one. And since his final exam concluded, and it was summer, he technically wasn't supposed to be in Europe. But he couldn't travel home because he didn't have a passport. It would be a shame if someone anonymously reported him to the embassy for overstaying his visa, now wouldn't it? He got deported back to our home country, where he was arrested at the border. I don't know exactly what happened, but he spent a couple of months on probation and with a criminal record can no longer apply for a visa of any kind to study abroad. Sorry about that future of yours, but I guess you shouldn't cheat on someone who loves you to the end of the earth, the mother of your child. Have a nice life, because we sure will. Oh, and don't forget to put that check in the mail. It's still paying for a little girl's future education. Wow, this was truly pro-revenge. I feel like a movie could be based on just this story alone. You try to cut my team in half, so I outsourced your entire department. The work ones are always good, so guys, get ready, this is gonna be fun. This tale takes place over the course of many months and resulted in over 150 layoffs, all to save 22 IT techs from losing their jobs. I learned a long time ago that no one cares about the IT team at our company. They see us as those useless employees, always complaining about rules. We're a mortgage company, and those rules are the rules everyone follows to protect customer data privacy and to prevent theft. When your company suddenly loses 2 full payments for a house to some scammer in Nigeria and the FTC has questions for you, then it's time to change your policies. This meant cutting legacy access, revoking unnecessary access, and correctly coding job titles in Active Directory to prevent people from granting their own access. What this boiled down to was a meeting that I phoned into a year ago. This was one of those meetings where I did not need to be there. Budget meetings. In this meeting, the vice president over the accounting department played a recording showing times when someone in the IT tech team provided subpar service. She tried using this as a reason to fire half of the tech team. The trouble was that all the people she played recordings of were already fired for giving terrible customer service. These people were replaced by 5-star techs who knew what they were doing and gave excellent customer service. This started the whole chain of events that led to the last week. Since this meeting was every 2 months, VP has tried to use her position and influence to grow her team while shrinking ours. Every budget meeting, I show up and VP, who shall hence be referred to as Karen, would target my team. I would pull out the numbers and pull out the logs showing how my team received a little over 3/4 of the team's call volume. I show how my team of 22 techs personally receive more phone calls than any other inbound call employee by more than double the number. I show how with the call volume we receive, we still maintain a 98% satisfaction rating. At our third budget meeting, the COO had been tired of hearing the same excuses and wanted hard data. He had a point. I was merrily throwing out basic numbers without providing real data. Our company was in the middle of a budget crisis, and someone needed to be cut. These budget meetings were basically a way to defend our own department from the chopping block. Karen believed that the best defense was a good offense. She was right, but not in the way she thought. When it became clear that the IT support team was on the chopping block, Karen starts to have her employees call into the tech center and have them make requests that she knows we cannot assist with, and that this is handled by another company entirely. We're not able to transfer calls to an external line, so the only thing we can do is give the number to call and hang up. The negative CSATs start to flood in after this. Every single call from that team regarding a vendor's password reset gets a negative CSAT. Our approval rating tanked to 72% in one day. I instantly took action. First, I contacted a few of the users on recorded calls and asked them why they called the IT tech team when they know we're not capable of resetting the vendor's password. She replied that she told it was policy to do that now. I asked her why she left a negative satisfaction rating, and she said that those no longer count against the employee, that those are only used for macro metrics. I walked over to Karen's office and walked in. Karen, why are you having your team call mine to reset vendor's password? Karen looked confused and stated that she did no such thing. She said she would talk to her team and make sure that they call the correct number in the future. The calls did not stop. Now, a few of her team were calling in with personal machines that were not an asset of our company. They were wanting things done which would violate license agreements with Microsoft or Dell. Each of these were refused, and each of these were leaving negative CSATs. It became clear that Karen was trying to tank our stats before the next budget meeting. I let my boss know, and he just gives me a sly smile. The leash is off. Sick her. This is an inside joke between us, as I'm someone who's very detail-oriented and very focused. When you try and get my team fired because you want to grow your useless team, I'm very focused on you now. The first thing I do is enable call recording for every corporate employee as to not arouse her suspicions. Her team did not have call recording enabled because her team handles CDP on a daily basis. I pull a live call and listen in. This is employee with our company. May I have your account number or your name? The customer gives the name. Okay, I have your account pulled up. Are you wanting to make a payment? Customer says yes. Are you authorizing me to go ahead and make the withdrawal from the bank account we have on file? The customer agrees. Okay, payment is processing. We will be notified in X days when it is complete. Your next due date is this date. The customer thanks her and he hangs up. The entire phone call was 1 minute and 22 seconds. Short phone call, so I listen to another. Similar situation. I listen to another and get the same thing. I start seeing a pattern here, so I go through the rapidly building log and see that all the phone calls are usually less than 1 minute and 20 seconds long. It takes well over an hour before an anomaly occurs and I see a 5-minute phone call. The customer needed an extension and the employee was authorized to give her a 30-day extension to avoid a late fee if she would make a double payment next month. The person on the phone agreed. At this point, I also turn on the CSAT for her team only. I expected a largely similar rating as my team. I was not prepared for the nearly 50% rating that steadily dropped. My boss comes over to my desk and he was getting the email notifications for the sub 75% CSAT rating and was flabbergasted at the sheer volume of negative reports. It's now clear that there's no choice but to examine this further. I assigned 4 people to review the negative calls from the other team and have them all. The amount of employees being downright rude to customers, not other employees, but paying customers over the phone was shocking. The negative tones in their voice, the unwillingness to fully answer questions, the extreme lack of empathy, and the shocking lack of mute button use was too much. Then came another shocker. The number of customer-facing employees was ridiculous. 152 employees to handle roughly 30% more calls than my team of 22. I call the CIO. What you got for me? I have something for you. It's incredibly evil, depressingly accurate, and can probably save the company a ridiculous amount of money. You know this is the second time you have said those exact words to me, right? Yep, but there is something I need to know first. I'm not currently authorized to know it, and I need to request it in a way that would not set off any red flags. What is it? The starting pay scale for all account employees. Tell me your plan. The next budget meeting was not a budget meeting. It was an IT Tech Defend Yourself meeting. The COO directed it and let Karen speak first. Karen pulled out the same stuff as before. Calls upon calls to our group that were cherry-picked as well as listing off dead zone times when we had people working but no one calling in. Then we went on about how they could cut our group in half and hire more account employees to reduce the workflow. Instead of defending myself or my department, I played 4 of the short call recordings from Karen's department. I then pulled up the Excel spreadsheet that was color-coded, showing how many phone calls each account rep received, and the length of time they were on, each call and the customer satisfaction rating. I explained the lack of high CSAT with my own little recording I like to call a failtage. It's a montage of Fail and her team were the stars. Before you ask, I did put music to it. The recording starts off with an employee saying, "Yeah, I guess I can take your payment." Then goes straight into another one, where a customer accidentally gave the wrong bank account info and said, "Don't use that one." The rep responded with, "Christ, what is the actual account number?" It only gets worse from there. This group was unmanaged for so long that they were filled with rude and useless employees. I then showed them a side-by-side comparison of each tech who received a call. I showed how my techs were receiving more than 4 times the number of calls per rep than her team was getting per day. I showed that we were all on the phone well over 7 times the amount her team was on the phone. And I demonstrated how each tech had double or triple the satisfaction rating over all of her group. Half the room that was uninterested in the conversation was suddenly interested when I closed out my presentation. In short, I saw no reason to defend the IT team today, as I have successfully done so in every prior meeting. Since the last meeting, however, Karen has crossed the line and has had her team call mine in regards to things we have no access to. I played the recording of me calling her minion. As you can see here, she directed her team to call mine and leave bad satisfaction ratings on my guys because of it. I have since deleted those CSATs as they served no purpose whatsoever. I then pulled out my next flowchart. This is the monthly expense taken from the last 9 meetings that our company spends on IT and servicing departments. I looked at the COO, who was looking at me intently. Before today, I was on the defensive as I saw no reason to attack another group. But it is clear to me now that my team has a target on its back. That's why I now show you this. It was a graph showing the starting pay scale for each IT and servicing employee code, as well as their average daily workflow. There was one glaring anomaly on the list. Account department had the highest starting pay scale with the least amount of work. So basically, in layman's terms, the account department can be reduced to 1/10 of its size, and we can reduce the pay scale to a little over 1/2, as this department requires very little in the way of problem solving and critical thinking. I saw a few raised eyebrows, as well as one impressed smile from the CIO. The CIO rushes everyone out of the room, except for me, my direct supervisor, and the CIO. He looked at me and said, "Continue. Further, we can cut this department entirely and outsource them instead of IT. Since this group merely takes payments and sometimes allows extensions, we do not have to worry too much about technical ability. Outside of simply using Windows, we can hire high schoolers if we wanted to." This got a laugh from the CIO. Karen was staring through the window with the smug grin on her face the entire time. Now for my final bit of this meeting, I'm going to play 2 cherry-picked phone calls. These are the most technical phone calls I could find from the last month for both departments. I play a call where a payment fails to process and the rep realizes she typed in the wrong number. I then play a call where it started out with a user stating that her customer submitted a payment to the wrong CD. The tech breaks out into our procedure to prevent wire fraud. Thanks to the quick action of this tech, we were able to reverse the CD and save this customer from losing their down payment. The final masterful stroke was playing my final card. As you all know, Karen has been coming after my team for months. She's been grinding her axe against us because she, like everyone else, has made the mistake that we are incompetent, inept, and useless to the company. What she did not know was that I have all the logs showing the truth. The smoke she has been blowing for years is so thick that it's ridiculous. Her team is highly replaceable, and we both know my team would require extensive training and effort to replace. The CIO spoke up. With just 30 people, we can outsource her entire department and save the company millions a year. The next time you have a major IT issue, you will be regretting outsourcing us. He then pointed to the graphs and flowcharts brought to both myself and Karen. Her team is useless. The next day, I watched in pure joy as a term request came in for Karen. It was with the double star indicator at the beginning, meaning this was a stealth term, to be done and coordinated with the person who will inform her of the termination. It's not actually double star, I changed that for here to protect identities. Over the next 2 months, the account team was shuttered. First they came for anyone with disciplinary issues or attendance issues. Then they laid off anyone who had been there a really long time. Then the newest employees. The smart ones applied for other positions in the company or left before getting laid off. All the while, the calls for payments were slowly shunted to the call center in India. By the end of last week, we only have 4 domestic accounts people left, who take escalations that the India call center is not authorized to take. Do I feel guilty about 140 people being laid off? Yes, quite. But I know it was necessary to keep my job and my health insurance. Without my health insurance, I'm a dead man. The entire reason why this happened though was because a division was slated to be cut and sent to India from the outset. Thanks to the actions of myself and my direct supervisor, we prevented it from being a sure thing that our team was going to get cut. On top of that, we cut out a festering wound in the company that was slowing it down and costing it money. My team has not been brought up in the budgetary meetings since. So what'd you do at work today? Oh, not much. Just got about 150 people fired. Just the usual day at work. Alrighty guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I definitely enjoyed making and recording it. It was great fun. I'm sorry the second story was so long. I didn't realize when I started recording, but then at some point I just couldn't stop. It was really interesting and I just wanted to get to the end. So tell me down below if you would prefer longer stories or shorter little ones. So would you prefer 1 or 2 long stories or 3, 4, 5 shorter ones? So tell me down below. I don't know what I should do, so they're all enjoyable. It's just a matter of what you guys want to see. But for now guys, that's it from me. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and I hope to see you all here next time. See you later guys.